Hopefully this will be the first of 4 videos to come in total talking about UEFA Nations League. And this is the first UEFA Nations League, the first of its kind, that will be implemented starting next month on September the 6th. And this is actually a very exciting time in international football because this is an experiment. And we don't know how it's going to go until it actually happens. What the overall goal is to improve the quality of international football. And if it's a success in Europe, you can expect other confederations to follow suit. We've already seen CONCACAF announce that it's having a Nations League. Maybe you'll see Africa and Asia afterwards, perhaps. Maybe Oceania, if this is successful. So it is a milestone. It's a new step in the history of international football, and we should hope that it all turns out right. But whether or not it'll be worth it, look, part of life is taking bold risks and coming up with new ideas to improve the quality and the entertainment of the sport that we all love. So I'm hoping that it's a big success. And it is an interesting concept because it's introducing a promotion-relegation system within an international football and providing incentive for teams that are playing other teams of a similar level because it's divided up into leagues to improve and move up or down the ladder, so to speak. And because these are teams that are sorted into leagues and groups of teams of similar quality, it makes it that much more harder but fun to predict. And I'm looking forward to it. So if you don't know the rules of it, I highly suggest that you watch any tutorial video of how the UEFA Nations League works on YouTube before continuing watching this video. I think it'll give you a better grasp of how it really functions. And yeah, so go do that if you haven't already and then come back here. But if you do know how it works, then just briefly for League D, it is the lowest league. There are 16 teams that are sorted into 4 groups of 4. Everyone in each group plays each other twice in a double round robin, home and away, where the group winners, all 4 of them, are promoted to League C, and they advance to a playoffs with 12 more teams from Leagues A through C for a 16-team playoff system to compete for the final 4 spots of Euro 2020. Now, there's still a regular Euro 2020 qualifying process, and it's the same format and it's always been for European Championship qualifying and World Cup qualifying, but the UEFA Nations League gives a second chance to teams that have otherwise missed out through the normal means of qualifying for the European Championship. So, it's sort of a chance of redemption, but also an opportunity for improvement and to move up the hierarchy, so to speak, of European international football. And so, yeah, let's just jump to the groups. I'm going to give my analysis because you guys know that I like to overthink things, and I'll give predictions for the teams I think will win their groups and be promoted to League C. Now, because this is the lowest of the leagues, the bottom 3 teams of each group, they're not going to be relegated. They just stay where they are because that's the bottom. So, in UEFA Nations League D, Group 1, we have Georgia, Latvia, Kazakhstan, and Andorra. Georgia are favorites to come through on top of this group. Caucasus Mountain nations are not very ideal to play against. I said this before about Azerbaijan in a previous video, but that really applies to all 3 of Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Armenia, because in the last decade or so, and especially since becoming an independent nation breaking off from the Soviet Union, Georgia have become a side that is plucky and stubborn to play against. And they've been known to play spoiler to a lot of teams of superior equality throughout qualification groups for European and World Cup, cycles. In the most recent 2018 World Cup qualifying cycle, they finished with 5 draws and 5 losses. They did not win a single game, but they very much so picked points off of teams and cost other teams from progression. This was a group that contained the Republic of Ireland, Serbia, Wales, and Austria. They played a role in Austria and Wales not finishing in the top 2. And they gave Republic of Ireland all kinds of trouble as well. I believe that they got a draw against the Republic of Ireland at home or on the road. So Georgia, and also want to mention in 2016 European Championship qualifying, they played Germany to a respectable 2-1 loss in Germany. They even equalized at the same venue as well. So Georgia are favorites to come through. They are the best team in this group. Like I said, teams of sort of level quality with Georgia in the likes of Latvia, Kazakhstan, and Andorra. But Georgia, I think, will top. They'll finish the first in this group. And they'll be promoted to League C. Latvia, fun fact about Latvia, they're the only country in the entire League D to have made it to a major international tournament. They did so in 2004 when they reached Euro 2004 in Portugal, where they got a famous result in the group stage, a 0-0 draw with Germany. They've not been back to any tournament since then. But Latvia is one of the worst Baltic nation national sides in the northeastern European corridor, so to speak. And they are not a minnow of world football. There are several teams in UEFA Nations League D that are not minnows, but Latvia, they've been knocking on the door of becoming one lately. They actually lost a friendly earlier this year against Gibraltar, giving Gibraltar its first ever victory as a national team recognized by FIFA and UEFA. They've also dropped points to Andorra in the past. They finished bottom of 2016 European Championship qualifying, where they were defeated at home to, coincidentally, another team in their group, Kazakhstan. So Latvia, on top of that, they're not a very high-scoring side. So typically they struggle up against teams that are more defensively pragmatic, even teams that are inferior to them. So I don't expect Latvia to do anything in this group. And I actually don't even think they're going to finish in the top 2, because the second position I'm giving to Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan has made a lot of improvement recently. They avoided finishing bottom of their qualifying group in 2016 because of the aforementioned Latvian side. In recent results in the last calendar year, they've picked up victories against Azerbaijan, convincing victories, like 3-0. They defeated Hungary as well, 3-2. Additionally, the Astana Arena is a venue that a lot of national team coaches don't like to travel to, in large part due to the geographical distance. Kazakhstan very much so is located within Asia, but it is a member of UEFA, and they've been a member of UEFA since around 2001, 2002. They moved from AFC because they wanted exposure to, the best that international football has to offer. They've never qualified for any tournament from UEFA, but it could happen someday. Think of how Australia moving from the OFC to the AFC, Kazakhstan moved from the AFC to UEFA. And the Astana Arena, it's a long flight. It's a long flight if you're from continental Europe. A lot of national team managers, like I said, have come out saying they don't like having to travel that far. I believe Louis van Gaal made that complaint in the past, or was it Joachim Löw? I'm not sure. But additionally to that, the Astana Arena is one of the more hostile venues to play at for any visiting team. Kazakhstan really plays like a typical former Soviet side. They're sort of in the same vein of an Uzbekistan, though not as good. Um, so, they're an interesting team to come up against. I'm picking Kazakhstan to come second. They won't get promoted to C, but I think they're gonna finish ahead of Latvia and Andorra. And speaking of which, Andorra. Interesting about Andorra. In qualifying for the 2018 World Cup, Andorra registered a historic 1-0 victory over Hungary. You're going to see me bash Hungary in League C because Hungary, they've hit rock bottom really, really badly in the last two years since their surprise decent performance in Euro 2016. Anyway, that's I don't want to get off topic, but Andorra, they're one of the worst teams in Europe. They are a minnow, and they're probably a bottom 2 or 3 national team in Europe, probably only ahead of the likes of San Marino and maybe Gibraltar. So even in UEFA Nations League D, Andorra should finish bottom of this group. So the order I have this in is Georgia in first, Kazakhstan second, Latvia third, Andorra fourth. Georgia gets promoted. So in Group 2, we have Belarus, Luxembourg, Moldova, and San Marino. You know what's interesting? Like I mentioned with Latvia and Kazakhstan, Belarus and Luxembourg have quite a bit of history with each other, too. In the last 2 qualifying cycles, both Euro 2016 and World Cup 2018, they've been paired into the same groups. Belarus got the better of Luxembourg in 2016 when they defeated them at home 2-0 and got a draw on the road in Luxembourg. But for 2018 World Cup qualifying, Luxembourg got revenge with a 1-0 victory over Belarus at home, followed by a draw on the road in Belarus. And Luxembourg was the reason why Belarus actually finished bottom of that World Cup qualifying group. And remember, that's the same World Cup qualifying group of the eventual world champions, France. Remember, Luxembourg had God on their side 10 months ago in that qualifying fixture in October of 2017 when they got a 0-0 draw against the eventual World Cup champions. So, Belarus are seeded as the top side, and even though they did lose to Luxembourg in their most recent fixture, they're still favorites to come through this group. They're quite decent at the club level. They produced pretty decent players in the past, like Alexander Hleb, and they should have overall too much quality for the other sides in this group, particularly Moldova and San Marino, especially San Marino. But we can probably expect it to be tight between Belarus and Luxembourg. Luxembourg, the onus is on them to prove that the result against France was not just a one-off thing. That may be that they're starting to show some consistency in their overall quality rising. But Belarus should come through this, and they should, and I think they will. Moldova and San Marino. Moldova are a minnow. And what's interesting about Moldova is when you look at European minnows, a lot of them are micronations. Like I mentioned, San Marino, Gibraltar, Andorra. But Moldova, it's a small country, but it's not that small. But it's arguably been the worst Eastern European national team for quite some time. You look at the neighbors around Moldova. You have Romania, Ukraine, Bulgaria. You have the Yugoslav region, which speaks for itself. And you have the Eastern Bloc with Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia. You get my point. Moldova is several leagues below them, figuratively speaking, and literally speaking as well. I don't think Moldova is going to be much of a threat in this group. Even they should finish above San Marino. If not, they have much bigger problems on their feet if they can't finish ahead of San Marino. And then San Marino, we know San Marino. We know San Marino. San Marino is the poster child of what a world, specifically a European minnow, is. You think of European minnows, the first name that comes to mind is San Marino. No disrespect to San Marino. It's a very interesting country. It's a landlocked city-state in northern Italy that has quite an interesting history. It professes to be the oldest republic in the world. And I believe they have a castle, too, in Serravalle, the capital of San Marino. But, look, it's no, disrespect to them at all, but they sort of have stayed where they are in their status in European football. And hard luck to San Marino, but I think they're going to finish bottom of this group, and they might finish bottom of this group with 0 points. So, picking Belarus to win, San Marino second. Oh my God, no. Can you believe that? Oh, jeez. Belarus first, Luxembourg second, Moldova third, and San Marino fourth. Don't be surprised if Luxembourg can pip Belarus that top spot, but I think Belarus will get it done. Group 3. Group 3 is actually sneaky tough. Sneaky tough. Azerbaijan, the Faroe Islands, Malta, and Kosovo. Kosovo is ranked as the lowest seeded side in this group, and a large part of it is because they don't have very much footballing history to go into a ranking for a FIFA ranking or a UEFA coefficient ranking. Usually sides that become member nations of UEFA and FIFA, they have to start at the bottom of a ranking because there's no record to go by. However, this is probably the last quote-unquote minnow, not really a minnow, that any team in League D probably wanted to get drawn with, because Kosovo has quality. A lot of players that have Albanian ethnic origin, because Kosovo has a very sizable Albanian population, come from Kosovo originally. And Kosovo, I don't think that this is something that fellow YouTuber Dominic Rich mentioned in his videos that I 100% agree with. Kosovo's performance in World Cup qualifying was not an accurate reflection of their overall capability, because of the fact they were in such a difficult group with Iceland, Croatia, Turkey, and Ukraine. Croatia were a bloody World Cup finalist. Iceland topped that group. Turkey and Ukraine are always difficult sides to play against. So it was a new experience for a team that is not used to having competitive fixtures against other national teams. Kosovo's actually a candidate to win this group. I don't think they will. I think they'll just miss out. But they can win this group, and they can be promoted. To give a sort of picture of what Kosovo is, since they are a young member nation of UEFA and FIFA, think of what Gibraltar was when they became a member, and then think of what Catalonia would be if they became an independent country and became a member, and picture Kosovo somewhere in between. Now, that's a large gap between a Catalonia and a Gibraltar. But most of the time, when national teams, become national teams, they usually start from a place of modesty, and then they build up. Kosovo, and then in the rare case, you have a Catalonia that would be overnight would be just one step below a powerhouse. But then you have Kosovo, who's somewhere in the middle, that if they put in a few years of hard work and get the experience, they can become a second-tier national side, sort of like in the vein of a Montenegro or an Albania. Well, those teams are more third-tier, but you get what I'm saying. But by no means a minnow, right? So, Kosovo, nobody should want to play. My point about Kosovo is nobody should want to play this team. Malta, Malta in this group, yeah, they're a minnow. I mean, Malta, same along with, like I said, Gibraltar and San Marino. Um, Malta are a little bit better. They're a little bit better than some of the absolute worst minnows in Europe, but not by much. They've been known to get a few surprise results here and there. I believe they drew Slovakia a couple of years back. I think they pushed England to halftime 0-0 in 2018 World Cup qualifying, but then England scored 4 goals in the second half. So Malta will not prove much of a viable threat in this group. They may play spoiler and prevent someone from finishing top, but they should finish bottom of this group. The battle between Azerbaijan and Faroe Islands is going to be very fascinating to watch. Because the Faroe Islands, we talk about Iceland, very much so improving in recent years. The Faroe Islands are a Nordic country that have come a long way since becoming a national team in 1979. The Faroe Islands picked up 2 victories against Greece in European Championship qualifying, both on the home and away. And in World Cup 2018 qualifying, the Faroe Islands finished 4th in their group, an all-time high for them, 6 teams in each group. And they finished with 9 points, the highest number that they've ever finished in any qualifying cycle ever in the history of Faroese national football. 9 points. So, can they make a challenge for promotion from this group? Yes, they can. However, I'm going to give it to Azerbaijan, the next team on this list, Azerbaijan. Caucasus nation, like I've mentioned before, they are a thorn in everybody's side. In the same light as a Georgian team that I mentioned that I think will win Group 1, I expect Azerbaijan to come top of this group as well. Azerbaijan made a serious challenge for a playoff position in their previous qualifying group, which contained defending World Cup champion Germany at the time. They were in a group with the Germans, Northern Ireland, Norway, Czech Republic, and Azerbaijan. I think they amassed 10 or 11 points in that group, which is pretty impressive for a country of their stature. And they played spoiler to Norway and the Czech Republic, preventing them from finishing in the top 2 position. It was Northern Ireland who ultimately grabbed that playoff spot. And it was in large part due to the fact that Azerbaijan made things very difficult for everyone in that group, including Germany. I believe in both matches that Azerbaijan played Germany, they equalized at some point. So Azerbaijan will come first. And then in Group 4 is Macedonia, Armenia, Liechtenstein, and Gibraltar. There's really only 2 teams in this group, conceivably, that should challenge for promotion. That's Macedonia and Armenia. A few years ago, I would pick Armenia. They made a good accounting of themselves in Euro 2012 qualifying 6 years ago, where they almost grabbed a playoff spot. But since then, they kind of wavered off, right? They were decimated in qualifying this time for the World Cup by Poland, by Denmark, to a lesser extent by Romania. They're also a squad that's sort of getting up there in age. I think that in the next couple of years, they could become the worst of the 3 Caucasus Mountain nations. But I'm going to give the edge to Macedonia here. Macedonia, they are the only Yugoslav country that has not qualified for a major tournament. I guess you can, yeah, they are the only one. They are the only one, actually, because even Montenegro qualified for a World Cup under Serbia and Montenegro. So Macedonia is the only one. And I think they will get there someday. At the youth level, Macedonia is pretty impressive. They've made it to the latter stages of under 19, under 20 European championships in the last few years as well. They have a few seasoned veteran players on their team. And they almost beat Italy. They almost beat Italy in qualifying last year. I believe at home in Skopje, they took a 2-1 lead over Italy, and Italy had to come from behind and win that match 3-2. So they are a team that can get results against the best teams in Europe on their day. So in that sort of vein, they're like a Luxembourg, but a little bit better, in my opinion. I think I'm going to pick Macedonia to come through. I'm going to wrap this video because my voice is getting raspy. I need to drink some water. Macedonia. This is probably the easiest group to predict as far as who will come in first. Armenia can make a case, but right now I'm going to give it to the Macedonians. So that's it. Macedonia in first, Armenia second. I'm going to say Liechtenstein third, and Gibraltar in fourth. Some words to say about Gibraltar. Well, they did get their first victory earlier this year in a friendly against Latvia. They do have a local club side called Lincoln Red Imps that I know they play in the preliminary rounds of the UEFA Champions League, like the very, very early qualifying stages. And it's a very tiny, tiny country. I'm not even sure if Gibraltar is a country. It's so much as a British territory, but it's pretty cool that they have their own national team at least. But they should finish bottom of this group. And I really don't think there's anything else that really needs to be elaborated on for Gibraltar. So the four group winners I've gone with are Georgia, Belarus, Azerbaijan, and Macedonia. Essentially the top seeds from each group, but a few surprises along the way with Kazakhstan and Kosovo coming close, I think. So leave a comment below, like, subscribe. Hope to see you in the next video. Take care. Peace out.